And welcome back. I'm Miranda Kahn. Let's turn now to more headlines from around the world. Thousands of Iraqis are pouring into Baghdad after the fall of Ramadi. The government had barred their entry over fears that terrorists would try to blend in with the crowd. ISIS has also now gained full control over the ancient city of Palmyra in Syria. Meanwhile, around 16,000 to 17,000 foreigners have now joined ISIS militants in Iraq and Syria. That number includes more than 3,000 Western Europeans and about 100 or so Americans, according to a think tank in London. And while many have died in battle, some have returned to their homes. The Ayatollah won't allow inspectors at Iranian nuclear sites. He now says allowing an interview would violate their privacy. Last month, he also ruled out extraordinary supervision measures over nuclear activities. The deadline for that nuclear deal is set for next month. And billionaire George Soros says World War III may be coming, and he says it might start with China. That country is trying to shift its economy to domestic demand, and Soros warns that China's leader may use foreign conflict to keep that economy afloat. His solution? Allowing China's version of the dollar to join the IMF's currency, and then the country can reform its economy. Russia's recent space failures puts billions of U.S. dollars at risk. Take this Proton rocket breaking apart and then falling back to Earth. For an example, it turns out a worker didn't follow the rocket's assembly instructions. Russia controls about 40% of the market when it comes to launching rockets, but officials now warn the country could lose its share if it doesn't fix its issues.
Scary stuff there. When you see that, you think about American astronauts going to space on Russian rockets many times.
Yes.
All right, well, yesterday, former Deputy Director of the CIA, Mike Morrell, was on the Steve Malzberg Show talking about his new book, The Great War of Our Time. Steve asked him if we are prepared to win that war. Here's what Morrell had to say.
I talk about two things we have to do. One is something that we've done exceptionally well since 9/11, and that is to deal with terrorists who already exist, who are trying to kill us. All right, we've done an exceptional job of protecting the homeland. Hasn't been another attack since 9/11 from the outside. We've had a couple on the inside. We are very good at protecting the homeland, very good at taking off the battlefield, capturing and killing bad guys. What we haven't done a very good job of is stopping the radicalization process, right? The process that creates new terrorists. So as fast as we take them onto the battlefield, they're putting them back onto the battlefield. And that is a very hard thing for the United States of America to get its arms around, because we don't have a lot of credibility in the conversation that actually has to take place here about what this religion is all about, that it really is peace-loving, right? It's not about violence. And it's not a conversation we can have. It's a conversation that Muslim leaders have to have with their people, Muslim clerics with their congregations.
But they don't. And if it were a peaceful religion, purely peaceful religion, so, I mean, it's like, with all due respect, it's like Judaism. I'm Jewish. There's Reform, there's Conservative, there's Orthodox. So isn't there a part of Islam that is radicalized, and these people who do these things look to their Quran and quote from their Quran and say, the Quran wants me to do this?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But what I was reacting to was not that. What I was reacting to is we are starting to see some Muslim countries, I talk about this in the book, Indonesia, right, which has done actually a very good job over the past 5 or 6 years trying to change the conversation with their people, trying to change the way they think, right? The other is President Sisi of Egypt just stood up and gave a speech about how we need to start thinking about our religion, and it was a really important first step. First step in a conversation with his people. So that kind of stuff has to happen a lot more. Absolutely.
Interesting take there, and Mike Morrell talking about the two aspects of fighting this. Dealing with these bad guys on the battlefield, which he says the United States is actually doing a very good job of, and we had reports of that number 2 ISIS leader killed over the weekend in Syria. But one thing we're not doing a good enough job is stopping the radicalization that goes on, not just in these foreign countries, but also here at home. You look at what happened in Texas in the Mohammed cartoon shooting incident. We had reports this week of more people from Minnesota, Somalis trying to go over there, trying to reach Turkey and join ISIS. And all this is so easy now because a lot of the propaganda is on the internet.
Well, but I also think what he was pointing out as far as having Muslim leaders, I mean, he's not the first person to say that, to have Muslim leaders speak out against radical Islam. But you're not going to do that when you have events that you just mentioned that happened in Texas. When you attack the religion on the whole, it's very hard to get them to come to your side.
You know, I think the cartoon incident is a First Amendment issue, and we have to have those types of events in this country.
I agree in free speech,
yes,
but it doesn't help that cause.
That is one aspect of this. You know, and you also look at changing the tone of the conversation. I think back to that case in Alabama, I believe it was, or Mississippi. There was a young girl who tried to go, a young woman who tried to go and join ISIS, and her imam in the community and her family, they say they were devastated, and this is not what Islam is about. That's what we need to hear more from these leaders.
You do, and you also have to people not constantly attack the religion.
Yeah. Well, we got more Newsmax Now coming up. Stay tuned. John Bachman and Miranda Kahn coming back for more right after this.